Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Easy to Understand Bible Lessons. These are videos designed to help you understand and get more out of God's Word as you read it. In these videos, we will help you to understand what the Bible teaches us about God, about ourselves, and how we can live this out in our everyday lives. In this video, we are going to begin at the beginning, in the very first two chapters of Genesis. Many people are familiar with the basic parts of the story. God takes nothing, and then all of a sudden, God speaks, and there is something. In fact, there is a lot of something. Everything that we see was made by God in 6 yoms in the original language of the Bible, which we translate into days in English. And there's a rhythm or a pattern to the way that God creates in this part of the Bible. First, God speaks, and then something new is created. This starts with the really big things, like the sun and the moon. And each day, we move closer and closer to the world around us and the things that we see and experience every day. Things like water, plants, mountains, and animals. And at the end of each day, God declares that what He has made is good. And the final thing that God creates is us, humans. Just 2 to start, but still, that means you, whoever you are. And what's amazing is that we are the very best part of everything that He has made. We are very good. And what makes this even more amazing is that we are nothing more than mud and dirt. But at the same time, we are made in the image of God and have God's breath of life inside us. This doesn't mean that we look like God, but it does mean that there is something very special about us. We get to be God's partners in this incredible project of God with meaningful work to do. And this garden that God has made, where all of this is happening, is meant to be a home for us. But it's a special home, a place where we can live and be with God the way that it should be. And this home isn't in the clouds, but instead, it's a lot closer than you might think. And so what do we do to learn about God in these first 2 chapters of the Bible? Well, first, we learn that God is pretty amazing. Not only is God able to create something out of nothing, but He is able to do it by simply speaking. We can't do that. Nothing in the universe can do that. While we can make things, we cannot create anything out of nothing, and we sure can't do it by speaking. Next, we learn that God is unlike anything that we know. He's not like anything that He made. This can make it hard for us to understand God or even to talk about God, which is why we need the Bible's help. We also understand that good and evil are a real part of the world that we live in. We learn that God, who made everything, made it in a certain way, and it's good when it fits into God's design and intention for it. We learn that good and evil are real and not just something that we've made up. We also learn a lot about ourselves. We learned that we are not just like the wild beasts of the field or other parts of creation. We are made in a similar way, and on the outside, there's nothing that special about us. But at the same time, God has something better for us, and as a result, our lives are valuable and precious. And even though God doesn't need us, we still get to work with Him, like a kind of partner or helper almost. And as a result, we learn that there is a purpose to our lives. Our lives are not just a random series of meaningless events. We matter, and what we do matters. And the parts of us that really matter, we can say that God originally made it good. Not because of anything that you or I have done, but because the one who made you said it was so. And perhaps most importantly, we were made to live and be with God, both now and forever. And so how can we live this out in our everyday lives? What does this mean for us? Well, the first thing that we can do is thank God, because we understand that everything comes from Him, and without Him, we would have nothing. The next thing we can do is know that God has made you and each one of us special and valuable. You are no accident. When God says that you are very good, it means that you are like God's work of art, God's masterpiece. And so, anytime that you are discouraged, frustrated, or feeling bad about yourself, know that God has made you special and has given you a purpose for your life. And as a result, we should treat others as though they were special and valuable too. And finally, we can live our lives with that purpose, knowing that there is meaning in what we do and important work that God has for us. We are not just like the animals that are here to eat and sleep, go about their lives, and then die. We are not simply supposed to do whatever, whenever, without meaning or purpose. But instead, God has more for us. And we find that the goodness that God has made for our lives when we do things that fit into God's design for everything that He has made. We'll talk more about how to live out God's purpose in our lives in later videos. But for now, we should simply know that if we want the goodness and order that we see in these first 2 chapters in our own lives, then we need to do things according to the way that God has created the world for us to live. Stay tuned for more videos as we learn more about God's Word and understand the Bible for us today.